Hey everybody, welcome back. So in this series of tutorial, we are going to cover why string is immutable in Java. Now you must be thinking why I'm saying a series of tutorial. Because there are different reasons, there are different factors which make string immutable. And the immutable behavior of string is helping us in many ways while we are creating a real-time application. So we are going to explore everything about it in this series of tutorial. But in this particular video, we are going to talk about we're going to learn a little about what we understand about immutable and the immutable behavior of an object, and also we are going to cover one of the reasons why string is immutable. So string is really a very important chapter in Java because in your real-time application you use string pretty much, and also it is very important in interview point of view. So let's get started with our topic. Alright, so now let's understand what we mean by immutable classes or immutable objects. Alright, so think like I have a class here. Okay, I'm just creating a simple class here called A. Alright, and let's say my class has two properties, okay, two variables. One is int I equal to 10 and another one is int j equal to 20. Right, so I just have a simple class and I have two different variables here. Okay, I and j. So let's say I'm creating the object of my class. Let's think like I have a main method here and I'm creating the object for my class. A equal to new A. Alright, so what's going to happen in your memory, a object is going to be created. Alright, and this A is going to refer to your object. So whenever an object is getting created, this copies all your non-static variables. So now I value will come as 10 and j value will come as 20. Alright. So now what we understand about mutable and immutable thing. Alright. So let's understand about that. So if I do like this right now, a.I equal to 30 and a.j equal to 40. If I do this thing, what is going to happen? It's obviously going to change this variable value, right? So these are my properties, isn't it? These are my properties of this object. So my object is in a state right now. This is in a state. Right now I'm changing the state of this object. Right now this variable is I variable is going to be 30 and the j variable is going to be 40. My object state is getting changed, right? My object was in a different state previously. Right now I just changed the state of it of this object, right? So this is called mutable. Right? This is called the mutable classes, right? My A class is mutable. That's why I'm able to change the properties of a object or a state of this object. So mutable means you can change the state of an object, alright? But if I'll make this class immutable, alright, how to make immutable, I will have a dedicated video for that. I think probably in the last part of this tutorial series we'll have a video for that. But just assume this is a immutable class. This A is a immutable class. And if this A is a immutable class, I'm not allowed to change the properties of this object. I'm not allowed to change the state of this object. So in an immutable classes, the object state cannot be changed. Think that this is a immutable class and think that I'm creating an object A equal to new A. Alright, now an object is getting created. A is referencing to this particular object. I have I equal to 10 and j equal to 20, right? Now once the object is getting created, that means I cannot change the properties of this I and j. Once this object is created, means I cannot change the state of this object. And this is what we mean by immutable objects. The immutable objects means the object state cannot be changed. We cannot change the state of this object. Alright? So this is the difference between mutable and immutable. Mutable means I can change the state of an object. Immutable means once the object is getting created, I cannot change the state of an object or the properties of an object. Simple, right? Alright, so now let's come back to our topic. String is immutable in Java. So what do you mean by that? So the Sun Microsystem people, the developers who have created string, they made string class immutable. That means once you create an object of a string, you cannot change the object, you cannot modify that object, or you cannot change the content of that object or properties of that object. So what I mean by that, just think like I have a string object, let's say string str equal to abhi. So I have a string object abhi. So what happens internally, a string object is getting created. Forget about string, constant, pool, heap, stack for a moment, okay? Just think like inside a memory, a string object is getting created with the content abhi, AVI, and this str is referencing to this particular object. Alright? So if I try to modify this object right now, this is not possible. I cannot try to modify this object. This object property should not be changed. This object content should not be changed, or this object state cannot be changed. So immutable means we cannot change the state of an object, right? So string is immutable, that's why we cannot change the state of this object. So if I will try to do like this, str.concat, okay, let's say str.concat of Lash. So Abhilash is my name. So think like if I'm trying to concat, if I'm trying to modify, if I want to try to add something with this object, this is not going to affect this object, alright? Because once the object is getting created means we cannot change this property. So if I'm trying to change the properties of this object, or if I'm trying to modify the properties of this object, then what will happen? A new object will be created in the memory with the modified content. So see, I'm trying to concat Lash with this particular object, right? So it will take the content from here, Avi, and it will add everything, Lash, right? And it will create a new object. So if we're trying to modify something with this object, then it is going to create a new object with the modified content, right? So anyhow, there is no damage has been done to this particular object. This object state is not getting changed. So now if I print system.out.println of str, what it is going to give it to me? So it's very simple, right? Now str is referencing to this particular object, right? And this particular object content is abhi. So I'm going to get abhi as an output. So output will be abhi, right? So think, if I'm trying to modify, a new object is getting created. But the thing to notice over here, right now this object does not have a reference. So if it doesn't have a reference, it is eligible for garbage collection. Alright? So if I try to print this thing, if I try to see this thing, then I can give it a reference like string s equal to str.concat of Lash. Now this s is going to refer to this particular object. Now if I print SOP of S, now this S is right now going to give me this as an output of a Lash. Alright, so this is going to be the output. Alright, so now let's understand why string is immutable in Java. And to make you understand this, I'm going to bring string constant pool to the picture, because string constant pool plays a really vital role for our memory optimization. So let's understand about that a bit. So let's talk about, I have a string here, okay? So string str equal to abhi. Alright, so whenever I write this, what happens internally? Let's talk about, this is your memory area, and you have your heap, this is your heap area, and this is your string constant pool. Alright, so whenever I'm creating a string object here, this abhi will go to string constant pool. Why? Because I'm creating it by using double quote, or I'm creating it by using literals. These are string literals, right? This is a constant. If this is a constant, this will go to string constant pool. So an object will be created inside your string constant pool with the content abhi. Alright, and this str is going to refer to this particular object called a heap. Alright, so now let's say I am creating another string here. String str1 equal to a v again. Now what is going to be happening? Alright, so I'm creating it by using double quote. So this is a literal or a constant. So if it is a constant, it should go to string constant pool. But wait, before it is go ahead and going to create an object over here, it is going to check either an object is already available with the same content. And yes, there is an object is already available inside the string constant pool with this content of heap. So this is not going to create another object inside ACP. Instead, it is going to refer to the object which has already been created inside the string constant pool. So we can say whenever we are creating an object, it is creating an object over here and cached it with a string constant pool. So whenever we are creating another object, it is just referencing to this particular object which has already been there, right? Because duplicate is not allowed inside string constant pool. Okay, so this is called as caching, because whenever an object is getting created, it's just cached inside the string constant pool, and after that, if we are creating any object with the same content, it's just going to refer to this particular object which has already been there inside the string constant pool instead of creating another one. Let's talk about I'm creating another string over here. String str2, and again I'm creating with the same content of v again. So what is going to happen? Again, a double quote is a literal. It should go to the string constant pool because it's a constant, but already object is over here with the same content of v. So there is no chance of creating another object over here inside the string constant pool because duplicates are not allowed in string. Duplicates are not allowed inside the string constant pool. So this str1 is going to pointing to the same object which has already been cached inside the string constant pool. So did you see how string constant pool is helping us for memory optimization? Because we don't need to create multiple objects over here. Think for a bit, alright? But let's talk about if I have a class called student, okay? I am creating an application called student app or something, okay? I have a class here called student, and I have 50,000 students with the same name Abhi, because Abhi is really a common name in India, and I have 50,000 students with the same name Abhi. So 10,000 objects will be created inside the string constant pool. So more objects, more memory. More memory, performance will be down, right? So we shouldn't create more objects over here. That's why string constant pool has been implemented inside your JVM, and it will create one object and it is going to cache it, and whenever we are creating any object with the same content, it's just going to refer to the object which is already there inside the string constant pool. Very simple. Alright, so now let's think for a bit. Okay, let's say I'm changing this str2 value. I'll do str2.concat, and I will concat last here. Okay, so last does mean something else in Hindi, so let's not think about it. So let's talk about str2.concat of last, right? So what will happen? Is it going to, now this str2 is referencing to this object, right? So if I'm going to concat something, it is not going to affect this object which is already there inside the string constant pool. Instead, it is going to create a new object inside your heap area because I'm doing some runtime operation. If I'm doing some runtime operation, an object will be created inside your heap area. So a new object will be created with the modified content of the last. Okay. So it is not affecting the object over here. Why? Because string is immutable. Think for a bit. If string is mutable, think like that. If your string is mutable, and if I'm trying to modify something over here with this str2 object, now it is referencing to this object. If it can modify this object, now think like for a moment, this is mutable and it's changed this object. It just changed the state of this object, right? So now what is going to happen? Now this object got changed because of this, right? str2. Now str and str1 is also referencing to the same object. Did you see over here? str and str1 is also referencing to the same object which is there inside the string constant pool. So if string is mutable, all this object which is already referencing to this particular object inside the string constant pool, their value is also getting changed. Now their value is Avi, right? Now their value is also getting changed to Abhilash because they are referencing to the same object, and this is changing the property of this object over here. So all these objects are getting affected. Think like I have 50,000 students inside this particular application or inside this particular student app, and all their reference is also getting changed because of this piece of code, right? So that's why string is immutable. I mean, this is one of the reasons why string is immutable. So this is what we need to remember. All our objects are being cached inside the string constant pool. So because of string constant pool implementation, the string is immutable because we just cannot modify the object which is cached inside the string constant pool, because a lot of other objects, a lot of other references are also pointing to this particular objects, right? So this is one of the reasons why string is immutable. So this is it for this video. In the next video, we are going to talk about how the immutability of string is helping us to make string as a key in the hash map, and what are the benefits we are getting because of the immutable behavior of string object. All right, we're going to talk about that. But before I wrap up this video, I just cannot stop myself to explain you one more thing, because I explained you about the caching inside the string constant pool. So another question you might also get in your interview is that, okay, so let me clear these things up. Alright guys, so now let's see here. Let's say I have a string object. String is equal to Avi. Alright, so I have a string over here. So what happens, let's say this is your memory, and this is your string constant pool, and let's say this is your heap area. So this is your literal, so your object will be created inside the string constant pool, and this S is going to refer to this particular object, and the content of this object will be Avi, right? So now let's assume that I'm creating another string, okay? String S1 equal to new string of Avi again. Alright, so this is another way of creating string, right? So whenever I'm creating a string using the new keyword, so I'm doing a runtime operation, so the object is going to be created inside your heap, right? With the same content, right? And there will be no object will be created inside the string constant pool, because already object available with the same content of it. So so there will be no other object will be created inside the string constant pool, right? So we know about it. So now the question will be, now this S1 will be pointing to this object, right? So I don't want that. I want to use the object which is already there inside the string constant pool. So how can I do that? So I don't want to use the object inside the heap area. I want to use the object which is already cached inside the string constant pool. So how can I do that? So for doing that, I will use a method called intern method, okay? The method name is intern, right? So now this object is not interned, right? So to make it intern, I'll say dot and intern, right? So this intern method is available inside your string API. So if I am making it intern, now what is going to be happen? Now this S1 right now is not going to point to this particular object which is inside the heap memory. Instead, it is going to point to the object which is there inside the string memory. String constant pool. Okay, this object will get used, right? So right now, if you check the reference, if you do system.out.println S equal to S1, you are going to get the same reference. You are going to get as the output as true, right? All these references S and S1 is pointing to the object which is there inside the string constant. So there you go. So you might get this question in your interview as well. All right. So this is it for this video. In the next video, we are going to talk about that. So if you like this video, just give me a like. If you don't like this video, just give me some suggestion down below. And if you have any doubts, you can post it as a comment down below, or you can write a mail to me at seleniumexpress@gmail.com, or you can keep me posted about it in my Facebook page. And you'll get all the links down in the description. Alright, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.